So formally welcome everybody to this knowledge cast. Our topic for today is race to ace performance, and of course we're talking about AI, and how it is elevating HR. A lot has been talked about this topic already on the internet, but I know there are a lot of questions, there are a lot of worries, there are a lot of excitement around this, and we are going to have our expert, tell us all about it. If I could have the next slide on the screen, so. Without any, further delay, feeling blessed and honored to be welcoming our speaker for the day. We have Varadharaju, who is the Vice President Human Resources at Flipkart. Quite a humble person, and he carries a long experience and a host of iconic organizations that he has worked with, which range from LG to Tech Mahindra, and many other organizations. You can follow him up, and he's quite a popular face on LinkedIn, and has a huge fan following over there, and does a lot of work around the topic that we're going to talk today. Well, my name is Ashish, and I'm going to moderate him for the next 1 hour and take all your questions that come up. I work as a director knowledge and advisory at SHRM India. So before we start, and I have a set of questions that I've tried to put up together, but of course, I'm also open to the questions that you as an audience would put up there. It is your knowledge cast, it's your session, and therefore I'm going to also go back to those questions. But before we start, let's ask from our speaker. So when you think about AI, and and then we force you to talk about how does it elevate HR, what are the initial thoughts that come to your mind?
Yeah, Ashish, thanks so much for having me here, and thanks, Ram. It's an absolute honor to be in this platform and share my perspective. Yeah, it's a great question, good warm-up question to really start. How it's going to really AI elevate HR professionals? Of course, it's lot. I would put in perspective. I was today morning reading a little bit of research that Mercer has done in the space of Gen AI and HR. And they actually came out with two bar charts. And bar chart one says about today's context, what portion of HR job is so transactional and rational and more at an SME level. It is very interesting to note the research says almost 50% of the job currently we do is about like transactional. What this AI is going to really do is try and optimize, automate a lot of those transactional and give us the space to spend time at the strategic. Example, I can probably give a little bit of an example here. The example would be in the space of, let's start with TA, right? In TA, what a lot of times recruiter they spend in their in closing a rec is starting with searching the resume, screening the profiles, and then like shortlisting, sending across. It's to me, it's the start of the pipeline. So what AI can really do is, let's say you want to hire a diversity at a particular target, you probably use the tool and give, hey, here is what I want the slate to be at a 50%. So it actually filters basis on your job description and then gives you an appropriate one. Then scheduling, it can do by itself. And what's more, I think this is what I'm foreseeing, which is untouched today, is specifically in the area of interviewing. A lot of us, we interview, and there is no standard way of interviewing, right? The same candidate, you will say, Ashish, you will say yes, and I'll say no, right? But if you get this Gen AI into an action, it can probably listen to our interview patterns and see like what are the common pitfalls in the interview, and it can actually give a suggestion. So our job is to select the right person, right? It can actually help us suggest the right kind of person and optimize that process. So I think that's a great opportunity in front of us. I think I'm really very excited.
I love the example because we got a lot of we got more than 100 people who logged in already, and we're touching almost 150 plus, and a lot of them who are TA specialists. And you've heard you heard Varda So your jobs are already under threat. As you can see, he said that. But I like the twist that you gave it to it, to say that it can look at our patterns, it can reflect upon, do some analysis and tell us the last five people. And I'm just adding two layers to it. Imagine we have internal performance data for people who we have recruited and how they're doing versus what we ask them. Imagine the possibilities that in the future all of this technology is going to have. But at the same time, I know that a lot of us and who are into TA and who do recruitment as a means to bread and butter. I know that it also scares us to say that, does that mean that we are not going to be required in the future? So therefore, the first question that I have, sir, is, see, there are a lot of current trends and advancements that are happening in AI, and a lot of them are actually shaping HR. I think HR is one of those, uh, if not the top, at least among the top 5 or 10, areas which has got a huge impact from AI. So tell us, what are those current trends, and what do how do you expect AI to transform the historic IR to HR and now to, I don't know, AR or something that we're going to give it a name. So help us understand, these perspectives.
A great question, Ashish. Um, I think the advent of AI and especially the recent developments in the space of Gen AI, right? It's definitely going to transform the way we work today. And it's true for every other function. Let me just talk about the HR. I do read quite a bit of research materials on this. There is yet another research that I just won't really quote here. Again, from Mercer, it says like 80% of the job we do today, right, will get affected by Gen AI in one way or other, maybe in next 5 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
So, however, this does not mean 80% of the job will be replaced. That's what the nuance I want to really give, right? Then what? Um, that's where the beauty of the AI coming in is it actually gives us a lot of bandwidth by absorbing, automating those transactional process. They say like transactional expertise and rational are the three layers, and it actually kind of automate those transactional shifts. What it really does is probably like automating those very tedious tasks, but then it has to be like very clear and repetitive aspect. Otherwise, it gets confused. That's one. And second, we live in the age of intent. I keep telling. In Maybe sometime back we were talking about Ashish. You were quoting about Flipkart experience, right? As a consumer, that if I don't understand your purchase style, right, I may not really kind of offer you the right product. So we live in the age of intent. It's all about personalization, right? And this is true for even employees. So AI provides the ability to understand employees need and create those personalized experience at an individual level, right? When I say that individual level, let me give an example on performance management, right? Year end is coming. I'm sure a lot of us will get into this annual performance cycle shortly, right? So what we really do today with the current HRMS system, there is some goal section. You enter the goal, and then the end of the year there is an evaluation, and then you get the rewards, right? This is a very traditional way of doing. Let's say like when Gen AI advances in this area, how this can help better the experience, right? Let's say Varda had a set of like 5, 6 goals, right? Um, and then let's say like for the next 6 months, if the tool doesn't recognize that I have not updated my goals or I have not made any progress, it can be my co-pilot. It can say, hey, Varda, you know what? Here is what ABCD that you can probably do, but nothing has been happening, right? And it can also help me in terms of doing a frequent check-ins and and help me with those customized input of the areas that I can improve to better my performance, right? It can nudge me in this direction, and it can also tell, let's say, it has a trained data. It can say, like Varda, there are several others who perform this job historically, and they have actually, their trajectories have been better by solving ABCD. It can give me those nudges. So this is like a more a co-pilot which can actually assist my journey on a very personalized manner, and that is to me is a great journey that AA can have a brilliant impact on HR from a trend standpoint.
Also, just to add one more question, and I've got a lot of questions from you for from the audience. Just one, prior to that, we also talked about trends. So, in terms of say the various aspects of HR, from recruitment to PMS, which you talked about, from say talent management to hiring, to identifying potentials, all restructuring, and all those other areas, even mundane as following HR policies, making sure that your attendance and all of those leaves and other systems are taken care of. Which ones do you think are going to be impacted the most initially? And of course, eventually everything else will get impacted. And also, can you highlight for us which ones are going to be the last ones to be talked about?
I think brilliant question that what you really said. In fact, there is a research from LinkedIn, and they were talking about, they have put a beautiful quadrant, and they say the automation potential or the technology intervention on your x-axis, and the human intervention or a high touch on the y-axis. So currently, they have taken TA as an example. What we have really kind of achieved so far with an automation human touch is the low end of the spectrum. You will see a lot of tools, they help in pre-screening. There are a lot of tools that kind of help in interview scheduling or in sourcing or resume parsing. But the opportunity in front of us is, for example, in an interview, we kind of interview to figure out, is the candidate good enough for my organization? But we, most of the time, we fail to understand what is exactly the candidate's need, right? And what their potential they're really talking about, this AI can really help understand the candidate need and therefore kind of plot them appropriate. That's number one. Number two, they also kind of talk about today, this culture fit is a very big thing, right? So you have a technical fit and a culture fit. Gauging culture fit is more given to the human intervention. And if we kind of have this Gen AI rightly trained, is a great possibility of gauging culture fit in the scenario, right? So there are lot many in this. These are differentiating factors. These are today very, very untouched. These are the white spaces. So I think in a summary, today what we really see is those transactional job which is repetitive in nature are those which will get automated. Those are little on the higher end of the spectrum, which are rational and strategic in nature, are the ones which will take a longish time.
And that's exactly what our, audience, Bhaskar, and I think I would call out Arana. Both of them actually talked about the same thing, that, AI is going to enhance our human experience because we're shifting our focus from the mundane to the, to more strategic things. And I loved what Arana named it as. She said AI is going to enhance NI, which is natural intelligence. Okay. So thank you so much. I'm going to ask a couple of questions that the audience put up. Now, here is this most oft asked questions, and everybody, you can put questions on every, choosing the every one, kind of a filter, because I'm also getting a lot of questions one-on-one to me, but yeah, I'm trying my level best. You put me into a spot, sir. You got such a fan following. I'm getting overwhelmed by questions. What am I going to do with my own ones? But nevertheless, The first one, this seems to be the most popular one. See, Kanchan and Dr. Naipal both have a similar question. I'm going to, talk about it. See, they're talking about, are normal psychometric tests then going to be effective in the coming years, or do you think AI can replace by gamification or something like that? So, do we see a huge impact on the assessments that happen, behavioral, psychometric? Do you see AI getting into that, spot? My personal answer is yes. I can already see them, but let's wait from the man himself. Sir, over to you.
Yeah, I see a huge possibility in that area. So today, we don't have a tool that is well trained to understand the human psychology. So we'll have to use it with a lot of caution. Let me just tell that, right? We all talk about Gen AI, but if we, the aspect that I want to emphasize is, um, use the tool which is well trained before you take it to production, right? Because if you lose out those corner cases, what is going to really impact is your effectiveness of your decision making, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it's a journey by itself. It's a machine learning. You'll have to kind of keep training with new data sets, and our job is to kind of give those corner cases so that it becomes very holistic, right? The biggest puzzle in the world that one had to really solve is understanding human mind, right? So it takes time. You need to have patience. Till the time we hit the right balance, I would encourage, use the tool as an enabler, and then kind of augment with a bit of human intervention. So what I'm going to really say, like, this is a age where AI and HI will coexist.
And I like what you said, and I'm going to quote this now a lot places, that AI and HI are going to coexist for a good amount of time. See, I clearly remember a few years back, we would be called into organizations to say, how do we ensure that people are not using, typically IT organizations, people are not using cheat methods from here and there to do their work. And now I often speak at organizations telling people, use AI, use ChatGPT to enhance your work, make it more accurate and speedier. But yeah, absolutely, you're so right that the world is changing, but for the coming times, till we get a handle on it, it's going to be a AI and HI existing together. Okay. I also have Prashanta. He's asking from a sectoral perspective, and I think that's a valid one. And sir, I would request if you could not only just talk about his sector, but also if you could have a point of view on other sectors. So he's asking, what will be the impact of AI, of course, in the HR field, in case of large manufacturing organizations? See, they are still very brick mortar. They also have a very particular way of operating. And I'm sure a lot of us also believe the same way, that I'm in services, I am in banking. And do you see like AI in HR entering into certain sectors versus others? Do you see that some kind of a filtering that is going to happen?
Okay. Let me just try to state, AI is no longer an if function, it's just the when function and how function. When I say that, I'm trying to really kind of explain that it's not going to help us if we are going to resist. So therefore, let's kind of embrace AI. So AI is only going to kind of enhance the way we look at employees, their experience, and also our own metrics, right? Coming back to the manufacturing sector, right? What are those possibilities which can be a bit of a roadblock? Number one, I can think of uh, specifically the HR tech space, the people who are trained in AI in HR, is there is a lack of skilled staff. I would say there is often a shortage in this space, and therefore you have to take those choices of, do you want to invest in some set of people and training and developing them in-house versus hiring them outside to just to bridge the gap. That's one. And second, the two very important element, what is really stopping us on adoption is cost of implementation and complexity in integration. Let me explain what I really mean by that. A lot of this AI technology that we see in market are kind of bit expensive to implement. So therefore, what we have to really figure out is if the ROI, right? Addressing this requires a very clear assessment of ROI. Possibly, I would suggest start with pilot projects, right? You don't have to really boil the ocean before an implementation. Take a small, like a function, try to do a pilot on this, and see is there any value that you get out of that before you get into the full scale. That's number one. Number two, the complexity of your integration, right? All of us have our own IT infrastructure, right? That itself is complex. Integrating another AI tool, and let's say like all of them are very independent in nature and doesn't sit in one environment, it's again, it's very difficult for us to really manage from a smooth integration. So these two, in my view, these three elements, if I can really talk about, if we can address them, then the journey would be very, very seamless.
Great. Thank you so much. And, I'm still getting overwhelmed by the questions and some of them, and I promise everybody that I'll try my level best to capture. Some of your questions are also, aligning with what I'd intended to ask him. So I'm going to kind of delay it and ask. But, one question that is coming most often, and I'm so sorry if I miss somebody's name or if I mispronounce somebody's name, because the chat is like, it's like it's like an AI run chat. Doesn't seem like I've got people, typing it in. By the way, we're almost 200 plus people. So welcome everybody who's joined us later on. Thank you so much for joining. Now, here is this off question coming up. I'm going to only talk out some names, Nikunj Prabha, who asked this. But this one is coming more up. So, see, we're talking about, and also a Parth who talked about it. See, people are talking, and if I have to summarize their questions, to say that how is, AI helping in increasing employee experience? Prabha, in fact, went to the point to say that how do we kind of use how would we possibly estimate the success and failure kind of a ratio from a culture fit perspective when we look at AI tools operating our organizations. So help us to understand how is something which is as critical and sensitive as culture, taking decisions depending on the criticality, the situation, because you can't put up an algo to what HR takes a decision every time. Therefore, how does AI fit into all of that? If you could kind of give us some views on that one.
Okay, that's I think fantastic question that I know who asked that.
Yeah, we had Parth, we had Prabha, we had Nikunj, and
Yeah.
trust me, tons of other people who have asked that question. I'm so sorry for the ones whom I'm missing out the names.
Yeah. So one is, of course, how AI is going to impact the experience. Second is the culture element, right?
Right.
Let me take this use case of when employees join an organization, what they really want is to have a brilliant career, right? What the career mean is, I've joined an organization, and career is a combination of their experience in the organization, their learning in their organization, how they develop, and also how they really progress and grow, right? So today, if you just look at the tools or the system that is the traditional systems which are available, the question that I'm going to really ask is, are they kind of democratizing employees' growth, right? Is it really facilitating a dynamic succession planning, right? Is it kind of creating a personalized journey for an individual? If the answer is no, then it's a white space in that area. So one of the white space I'm going to really talk about is at Flipkart, we use internal talent marketplace as it's a tool that third-party tool that we really use it. How do we kind of use this? Let's say like Varda, who is a software engineer, and my aspiration is to go from a software engineer to a data scientist. Therefore, what do I really do? The first thing that really comes is like somebody would say, hey, why don't you really put up your IDP, right? Individual development plan. Let's say if I have a fantastic Gen AI platform, the platform itself would really say, hey, Varda has this experience, currently a software engineer, I want to transition into data sciences. It will gauge the delta and say that you'll have to kind of learn 1, 2, 3 skills, right? There is a guided IDP that really comes in place. The second, okay, does it stay there? No. It will also in the platform say, if you have to pick up this decision sizes as your expertise, here is a project that is available in the internal talent marketplace. Why don't you go self-nominate yourself? So that it's a on-the-job learning that you really get. The platform really offers. That's an internal talent marketplace platform that really offers. So as you kind of learn, it also tells you like, are you getting into the right directions, right? Those insights it would actually give you to further refine it. It can also suggest you in the journey, should you really need a mentor or not, internal mentor. And if you have a set of mentors, it can also match and tell you here the mentors maybe you can select. Once you complete all of this journey, then comes here are the possible options of roles that you have, maybe apply for your IJP, right? And it's a journey which is very well, it's an assisted journey, and it seamlessly takes you through. That's where your experience, your culture, this platform can really offer, right? That's an example I just want to really share. And I see a lot of merit in having this internal talent marketplace.
Thank you so much. I'm under pressure right now because there are tons of topics that people are bringing up. There are tons of topics that I have. I'm like, and all are exciting. I want to like pick up. Say, for example, Mihir exactly made an amazing point on the chat of what you were talking about, that this is also going to do some futuristic kind of a work that we never would have mechanically been able to do, but at the same time also enhance our outcomes in a traditional kind of an output that we are talking about. Now, there are two things that I want to talk about immediately because people are talking a lot about, okay, what do I do about it? I've understood now what is my preparation for it. I think which is a very fair question. So, and you are nobody better than you to talk about it. There's this another one that is coming up and a lot on the chat. See, there are challenges, and you did speak, a little bit about it to say that, see, there are challenges to organizations, they face when integrating AI, into their HR. One is how can that be addressed? Second, I want to piggyback another question from the audience that came up around it. How do you ensure that over a period of time, HR, which does not understand algos, and how do we ensure, we are going to AI because we want to remove our biases. How do we not ensure that over a period of time, there's not a bias from AI that comes up over a database, that over a period of time, a data is saying this, therefore we might actually, that might even itself become a bias. So if you could answer those two questions, and then we move on to the learning and development of how do we as HR professionals kind of become, better ones. And I must tell you, you're a star here because God, I'm crazy going with the chat and the questions that are coming up. So
Yeah. I thought I had answered how do we kind of integrate or implement. There are two challenges, like the cost and the complexity challenge, right? As long as you have a check signed from your CFO, here is what that you want to really implement. You have that checkbox. So it's very important. So important for us to kind of understand um, you should never operate out of pressure that ABCD organization has already implemented, therefore I have to implement. It's not that. You will have to really understand what is your organization need, where you want to implement this tool, right? So basis that you can actually make a decision, and therefore my recommendation is you have to very clearly put that use case together and come out with your ROI, right? Without an impact metric, it's very difficult to really make a use case. The second, when you start to implement, I would just say start small, go with the pilot, experiment, learn before boiling the entire ocean. So that's around the suggestions around the implementation piece. Second, the question around how do we kind of make HR folks adopt this AI? Was that your second question, Ashish?
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely, sir. And,
So
and the question around, see, how do we ensure that over a period of time the biases don't come in? See, we are replacing it with a goodwill that we want to make it very
exactly,
objective.
exactly.
In the longer run, how do we ensure that, when we don't understand algos, when we don't understand this technology, how do we as HR make sure that this is not counterproductive to what our intention was?
Correct, correct. So what is very important element is once you know the use case, why you are implementing, make sure this is very transparently communicated to your employees, right? Where all this would be used. So what by doing that, what are you trying to address is their anxiety. So for example, I'll give you where this anxiety, data privacy. Let's say like you run a wellness workshop and you collect some data around wellness. So as Varda, that I'll be concerned how my wellness report that as an organization you will use it, you will perceive that, right? If you kind of make your intentions very clear and make those transparent communication about the purpose and the benefit of it, involving the employee in the process will actually remove those concerns. That's number one. Second, on the biases, I think that's where the initial part, till the time you are pretty comfortable that the data set that's been trained is far more effective. I think you need to have that human intervention to really validate some of the outputs that are decision that you're really making. Therefore, it's a journey of AI and HI together for the next foreseeable period is what will make our life more predictable and very rational.
Thank you so much. I also have like a concerned question. I just want to close this loop in the overwhelming questions that I've collected. So Swati asks, and you did talk about it. Swati was asking about, see, the high costs, and you really talked us through to don't try to boil the ocean. And I just wanted to add here that yes, we have a lot of tools which are very cost effective, and some of them are even now coming as free, which with the right IT kind of a decision making can be integrated right now. And as Avarda said, we don't need to do everything right now on AI. We don't need to go all guns on AI. But yes, slowly and smartly we can incorporate things that will over a period of time kind of try to help us. Sir, before I move to the next one, the preparation from HR to kind of get, there's one more additional question because we're talking about the limitations and challenges now. What ethical considerations should be taken into account when using AI in HR? You did talk about keeping it transparent, sharing with people, showing them the outcomes. But are there any more things that we should be aware of, especially around data privacy, especially around biases? Because, and let me be very honest and accepting that, see, we are playing with something which is an uncharted water. I don't know 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, what's the shape and size that AI and other technologies are going to kind of take a shape and form in our organizations. But what should we keep ourselves? Everything new, fire can cook food and burn down the house. What should we take precautions so that it doesn't burn down the house?
Yeah, I think you already touched those points brilliantly, Ashish. What really comes to my mind when you talk about those the ethical consideration, one to me is biases. Second is the transparency, and the third, of course, is how do you collaborate on ethical guidelines, right? Let me really talk about what I really mean by biases. I explained in my previous answers. But let me rephrase in a different way. HR leaders must be aware of algo biases to ensure fairness and transparency in a AI-driven HR process. What I mean by that is, if a solution, if it is inherently adopts any biases that present in the training data, potentially it will throw the same discrimination the way it gives your decision. So in a simple aspect, it's a garbage in, garbage out, right? If it is a garbage in, garbage out, um, to kind of get the right set, it is essential for us to regularly audit, regularly feed in those use cases. Therefore, the machine learning happens on a regular basis, refine that AI-driven HR process to monitor and mitigate such biases, right? Otherwise, it's very difficult. I'll give a very simple example, not from HR, from a banking sector, right? Let's say that I am at age, let's say I'm at a 57 or a 55. I go to a bank and ask for a loan. And most likely my loan will get rejected because I'm on the higher end of the employment curve, right? Because that's how potentially the bankers would have really rejected. So that is the data that has been fed. Let's say it's an AI generated, and if the AI engine sees my application, the immediate version is it would have rejected it, right? Similarly, somebody who's probably a homemaker goes and applies. Again, the same rejection would really happen. However, how that as the HR fraternity, are we trying to capture these corner cases? These are very, very important. This to me is a bias, and can we really eliminate that? So
Thank
training
you
is
so
very,
much.
very, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. In fact, one of our participants, Narsimhan, I think I missed it up in the chat, talked about, see, these days a lot of job aspirants are so smart to use AI, and they absolutely come up with this perfectly, like as if this person was tailor-made for your organization. And in the future, we might see some AI tool helping us to say that this is an AI response. This might not be the real response, which is what I loved what you said, going back to say that while as yes, AI is coming in, you cannot completely ignore NI or HI, whatever you want to call it. Okay, let me move to a very a relevant section, because a lot of people have been asking about it. To say that how can we as HR professionals? I just had a Swati on the chat ask me, do as HR professionals do we need to kind of update ourselves? Yes, the answer is no. But I think the more relevant question that Varda would be able to answer us is, how can HR professionals prepare for the future, and play a more dominant role? I also had a lot of people, sir, which talked about, like I had a Renu which asked about what are the trainings and courses we can take to learn AI in HR. I had a Dr. Anand asking me, considering the global situation, do you think AI is going to in the future replace professional wood trainers or mentors? And a lot of other people who are also asking the same question. So if you could talk about what do we need to do now, I'm also going to piggyback another question to it. I've got I've got Mahesh and and Sri Vidya, who are constantly, and many other more, not just those two. A lot of them asking, saying, ask Varda, what are some of the top AI tools that he would recommend to us? So I'm piggybacking. What should we do to upgrade ourselves on AI? What are the tools that we should immediately after this webcast gets over? What are those 5 AI tools that we should log in and upgrade ourselves?
Okay.
I know I'm putting you to a spot, but then.
So, as HR professional, I think all of us must understand that AI is not the if thing anymore. I said that before. It's not a if kind of syntax. It's more of how and when, right? Therefore, skilling is very, very important, right? Gaining that AI knowledge and skill to familiarize themselves in this ocean of AI is extremely important. More so, not the tech side, is the application side is what I would rather say, right? It's not I'm talking about the codes and other element, is the application of that. So, and also keep up to date with the latest development. That's very important, right? What this really mean is when you keep yourself updated, you stay relevant, right? Uh, the world is changing, And for us to just be that ever-changing world, it's important for us to stay relevant, and therefore stay open to change and be ready to adapt these HR practices driven by AI technology. So these are the two very important. And last but not the least is emphasizing the human element, right? What I mean by that is balancing AI implementation with the need to maintain a high level of human touch is extremely important for us in the next few years to drive a right decision making. Example, I'll give an example. As part of employee engagement, to kind of know the voice of employees, we have something called continuous listening tool, right? What it really means is, it's not those days like where you do a survey once in 6 months. By the time you crunch the data, take the data and
Oh,
present it, and either the people are no longer there or the data becomes irrelevant, right? So the exercise itself is absolutely non-value add exercise. That's why we got into a practice called a continuous listening. The tool does beautifully, and then it crunches data, and then it gives us, hey, here are the areas where people are concerned, here are the where that you will have to really focus, so on and so forth, basis the data that has really carried. But what is really important is what we really do is we don't just leave it with data, but we take the data and we make all our HR leaders to go through, look at the data. Wherever we find that we need to intervene, we intervene. Therefore, it's a beautiful marriage of A and HI coming together and giving a meaningful outcome which is productive and rational, and which is actually, that's where that your employee experience is elevated, not leaving it to the tool itself, right? So make sure that you spend a lot of time in skilling. Therefore, you stay relevant. And finally, it's not like this or that. It's like both, right? It's artificial intelligence and human intelligence. Both coming together is what the world that it's going to really coexist. That's the world that we are going to really operate with. I can also,
fantastic. Thank you.
yeah, go
Sure,
ahead.
please, please. No, I was going to say thank you so much, Varda, for culling out. What is also, see, I was just looking through the chat and reflecting upon. See, there are a lot of basis what you said. There are a lot of what you call as uh, scenarios that people have called out. Say, for example, the questions that I see on the chat. One is that, say, people are saying that in the future with AI, and I'm so sorry for forgetting the name of the person. It said that in the future, can AI fire people based on their performance? Some people are asking about, in a recruitment scenario, can it kind of find out people who are fit to my culture and the softer elements and aspects of it? Some people are saying that can AI be implemented in the manufacturing, in the PMS, and it can do a much better job of collecting all of that kind of a data. Now, there was also a huge ask, people talking about HR analytics. Now, these are all scenarios that will come up. And my answer to all of them is yes, it can do all of this and much more than this. It depends on what we want it to do. And I loved what Avarda said, that don't boil the ocean, don't go whole hog. Think about what is critical to you and your organization, which requires a lot amount of time. I love that last example. In the past, it would take us like months together to crunch this amount of data. Now it's like constant. But so what I would want you, before I ask you further questions, is kind of help us to cover up all of these questions, because we cannot spend forever one by one. Though, by the way, everybody, he's on LinkedIn. You can connect with him offline. Send questions on a chat, and we'll also see if we can bring him back for another session. I think one session might not be enough to do these questions. But sir, can you help us summarize to say that when we look at AI in the future, or when we look at these scenarios, what should be those 2 to 3 pointers in our mind to say that, can I do this? Should I do this?
Okay. The first and foremost, you should never get to the pressure of I have to implement this technology.
Mhm.
So the technology should not lead before the need. The need should lead to the technology. So that's the most important element, right?
Just because me and Avarda are talking about generative AI does not mean that you have to now implement it.
Absolutely. So that's the first thing that I would really, I would probably state. And second, you should probably cull out those use case where you think it is appropriate for you to really implement, right? Where you want to see the needle movement, right? Um, so that's the second aspect I would just say is have that right use case where you want really implement. And the third, make sure that you have a sponsorship from your management, right? Otherwise, this is going to be ever-ending battle because you will have all this use case and you will have like these beautiful tools, but they will, if the management is not supportive or if they're not funding, then you are again back to square one. So this, to me, these are the top three. So from a use case standpoint, let me just give what I really meant by that. Post this COVID, I think there is a lot of startups who have um, built on wellness platform, right? Wellness has become very important
Become a
element.
talk of the talk. Yeah.
Yeah. So and a lot of corporates, they kind of partner with this wellness organization. Uh, what this AI tool can really help is it can build um, the health profiles of the employees, right? And recommend some personalized journey and all of that. But what is more important for us is what we want to really achieve out of that. So any journey that you do without an outcome, it's futile. Example, like is wellness mean to me is yoga session? Is wellness to me is a dietary session? Or is wellness to me is having a walkathon session? So we should be very clear what are we trying to really impact and accordingly have those tools help us drive, and there have to be a purpose and there have to be a benefit associated impact. If you have this very holistic and if you are able to measure it, that's where that you will see more and more benefit of this AI tool coming in.
A lot of questions coming up, and thank you so much. A lot of questions coming up. People are asking about if permitted and whatever is in the public domain. Can you talk about as I ask you questions, there are much more interesting ones that come up. As I was about to ask the last one, somebody put up, and I had Rajkumar say, "What is the next to AI?" Blockchain. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to surprise us by. But see, I just wanted to ask the previous one. A lot of people are saying that, can you permit it? Give us some insights about what are the generative AI projects that Flipkart is undergoing right now, or has taken up, or intends to take up.
Sorry, you're talking about the tools?
Yeah. See, what are areas in HR does Flipkart use
Yeah.
generative AI?
Yeah. So I will try to give the areas that we have really scoped, and I'm not going to go a lot of it. For example, wellness is a big focus for us, right?
Okay.
When I say employee wellness is a very holistic wellness. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to kind of make sure we understand what people needs are. So well, what I mean by holistic is a lot of times people have from a wellness, they get into this issues of either there's a work-life balance, because of that their wellness is kind of getting impacted, or lack of or poor nutrition, or lack of proper sleep, or mental health, or all of them, right? You can't have one size fits all approach. That's a most important element. That's where I said it's holistic, right? And if you have to really kind of have this impact, one need to really draw those workplace wellness personas, right?
Mhm.
Let me explain what that persona mean, right? It's a cohort-based persona, right? Uh, let's say, like, very simple example, there are five of us in the room. The one person would be like extremely fit, very holistic. Second would be like, I want to be fit but I'm very lazy in that. And then the third person would be like, very idle, but getting into closer into some kind of issues. So therefore, understanding those needs and pain points and driving those journey for them, that cohort based journey with a relevant data point that supports, which are very clinical in nature, which knows the history and also which is data driven, would really help them build a journey for that individual or that particular cohort. And then it is not just it is bot assisted, but also there is a human in the loop where there are coaches come in, where they really guide the behavior. And what is more important is, sorry.
No, absolutely, nothing. Please go ahead.
Yeah. And what is more important is, we try to kind of get those subjective and objective outcomes. So that's what that I really mean by having a very holistic wellness. That's one area. The second area, of course, I was talking about internal talent marketplace, right? Where the use cases, in terms of what I really explained some time back, was that how do we help the talent mobility using the marketplace? The second, it's also that it's a workforce planning. The second is an obvious outcome of that is, you would really understand, with this integrated and dynamic workflows, you will know, like, of your total population, um, what is that your talent acquisition strategy would be, what percentage have to be built, buy and borrow, to kind of stay competitive in the market, right? So that would be the second example. In fact, we have we use Gloat as a platform for the internal talent marketplace, and of course, is everything there. It's a journey that we have to really embark on. So therefore, just make sure that the need before the technology is very important. Second, scope the use cases where you want really implement, and then start small and make sure whatever that you implement are measured.
And would it be very right, sir, to say that your IT department or your business teams would be your right partners to embark upon with you on this journey?
Yeah, we have an internal within HR. We have a technology team within HR, and also our IT team, which is outside of HR organization. They really help us support in building the right recommendation, getting the right tools for us to make the right choices.
Yeah. That's what I love about the new world that, see, AI can replace a lot of things that I do right now, but it'll never be able to, one, network and collaborate, which is still very human. And I think that's where HR takes the edge. 2 years of a COVID, I think, displayed that to a lot of people to say that, this is how it is. I also loved what you said, sir, explaining the last question, because Mihir was asking, and I missed that before. He had asked up something to say that if there's a talent which is fit for a particular role, but there could be multiple, options that he or she might fit into some other roles. AI eventually can also kind of make the organization aware of those. Great. I see still a lot of questions coming up, and people are also thanking you, by the way. I honestly didn't have anything to do with this. I was just asking your questions, and he's the good man to be thanking you for. Sir, just one last two simple questions, because we just like 5 minutes left and I want to kind of capture as much as we can. Should we be really worried that I'll be out of my job because AI can do a lot of stuff that I can do right now? Should I be really worried?
Yeah, this is my personal stance, and I,
Okay.
I think that AI won't replace people, but people who use AI will replace people who don't. Right. So that's where that, and therefore make sure that we embrace AI, we get skilled so that we stay relevant. And also on the same length and breadth, I was also reading some HBR research paper. It gave a very interesting lot of times. The research paper says like how AI is going to really transform jobs or take away whatever. Here is an HBR which really said with the with introduction of this new technologies, including like Gen AI, like in the following years, what are the new roles would really evolve in HR. So they really come up with 21 HR jobs for future. I'm not going to tell all of them, but at the top of my mind, there are very interesting. It says head of business behavior. Second, a chatbot and human facilitator, right? Then it says like chief purpose planner. If you look at all of this, these are the jobs. They'll become they sit in that the top end of the spectrum, right? These are the future roles which are very high on the value chain. These are very strategic in nature, and that's a good news for HR fraternity. What AI would really do is it would probably automate a lot of those transactional job and will give a bandwidth for us to move more toward this rational and strategic nature of the job, and a lot of roles would really get created there, and that's a fantastic news.
Thank you so much. And that was really insightful. A lot of people are, asking us, and we're asking you as well to say some of the tools, but I see a lot of people have already put in a lot of tools. I know you can do, you can go to ChatGPT and say, what are the top AI tools, and it can tell you. But I think more than so, it depends on what you need. And I loved what Varda said, and that cleared a lot of questions that I had in my mind to say, look, don't go by the technology, go by what do you need, what is the need, and then scope it out in. So, last question, and this is going to be the closing question from my side. Um, what is the future of AI in HR, and how do you see it? How do you personally see it evolving, as we go from 2023 to 2024?
Yeah, I think the future is bright. I'm very optimistic on that. And the space will get significantly revolutionized. Um, and I've spoke on areas on TA and on like wellness, right? On even on the talent marketplace, right? There are huge potential for us to get into the high end of the value chain and then let the transactional jobs to get automated, and which is a great news for all of us, right? um, um, so I would also want to mention, while all of this advancement offers exciting possibilities, right? It is crucial for organization to approach the integration of a HR with ethical consideration. It's very important, right? Being very transparent and focus on enhancing the human experience at work. That is what that we should keep in mind. Technology may come, technology may go, but this is core to what how we operate. And therefore, I just want to welcome all to the world of AI and HI. It's like our two eyes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And on behalf of SHRM, on behalf of all the 200 plus participants that joined us, thank you so much for your time. For all the insights that you provided. Very patiently you answered all our questions, the barrage of questions that came up, tsunami, and you can see if you look at the chat, the overwhelming thank yous that you're getting from people. Thank you so much. I would also want to thank everybody, and I honestly cannot thank everybody's name, but I can see like tons of, it's like a automated thank you list. But thank you so much, everybody who joined in, participated. It is you who made this session an insightful and a very energetic one. Thank you, everyone. And until we meet on the next knowledge cast, what I've also done is I've put up the LinkedIn profile for for Avarda and myself. If you have any further questions or anything else that comes to your mind, feel free to get in touch with us. As the field and as the topic evolves, who knows, next webcast or knowledge cast might be done by some AI chatbot talking about it. And as we look into the into a future, wish you all a very happy new year in advance. I know it's too much in advance, but until we meet next, and I'm going to take from a leaf from what what Avarda said. The future is going to be looking very bright. But yeah, AI will be able to do a lot for us if we embrace it and if we are on top of it. So with that note, thank you so much, everybody. Thanks a ton, sir. Wonderful talking to
Thank you,
you.
all of you.